Hi everyone, my name is Christine Javier, and today I am going to work on Coderbyte's letter changes algorithm. All right, so let's go ahead and get started and see what this is all about. All right, so for the purpose of this video, I'm not trying to get a perfect score. The reason being that Coderbyte's really cool in that they kind of judge you on two things. One of which is, did you pass all your test cases? You get a certain amount of points depending on how many test cases you passed. Secondly, they also test you on your timing. So the faster you get a correct answer, the higher score you get. But again, for the purpose of this video, I just want to thoroughly go over my solution that I came up with, and inevitably, I think just doing that video-wise is gonna put a lag in time, and therefore I'm gonna get a lower score. But anyway, who cares? Let's get started. All right, I'm gonna code in JavaScript, obviously. Now, you could read through the challenge. Here we have a function called letter changes that takes in a string, and you're supposed to modify the string. So this is the key sentence here. Replace every letter in the string with a letter following it. Then capitalize every vowel in this new string, and then return the modified string. So this is like really essential to this particular problem. Replace every letter, meaning that if it's not a letter, if it's a symbol or a number, then that's going to be a different story. So if it's a symbol or a number, then, and what I mean by symbol, I mean like characters that are non-alphabetic. If it's that, then you just want to keep it as is. And I know that because I'm looking at this input here, hello asterisk 3. Notice how the asterisk and the 3 remain the same. Like there's no modification on that, but everything else that's an alphabetic character is going to be changed somehow. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. Secondly, once we do change the letters such that they become the letter immediately after it, we have to ask ourselves a question. Is this new letter a vowel? And is it a lowercase vowel? If it is a lowercase vowel, sorry. If it is a lowercase vowel, then you want to change it so that it's an uppercase vowel. Okay, so that's just kind of the mentality we're keeping. So here we go. Let's get started then. All right, so I'm just going to use my text editor here, trusty Atom. Now, so we have a string and we want to apply some and test some conditions on the individualized characters of the string. So immediately in my head, I think I should turn this thing into an array and go through the array and analyze every element. So in order to do that, we're going to use something called the split method. All right. Now, what do we want to do immediately after split? Well, essentially we want to apply several tests and conditions and return whatever modifications that must be returned for each element. And so immediately I'm thinking I could write a for loop, or I could use a method like map and for each. So I am going to go with using a method. And initially I was thinking, why don't we just use for each? Well, the thing with for each is that it would return undefined if you were to apply certain conditions and return the changed conditions. And the reason being that for each applies a callback function, but it doesn't break out of its loop, and therefore it doesn't modify the element. It has like a side effect, you could think of it that way. Whereas map, it creates a new array and it pushes into it or changes the element of that array such that it could be now valued as the new modified thing. Okay, so we're not going to use for each, we're going to use map because we could capture the modifications that way. Now, what map is going to take is it's going to take a function, and I don't know what we're going to call that yet, but let's just finish this general outline of what we're going to do. We're going to split the array, we're going to apply modifications to it, and we're expecting to return just one whole string. So I already know I want to use the join method so that the array becomes a string again. Okay, and so now the question is, what do we put inside map? This is really the body of our function. And you could do an anonymous function here, but I already know that this is going to be quite a lengthy function call. So instead, I'm just going to declare a new function outside of letter changes, and we're going to call it inside map. I'm going to call it changed, or yeah, I like the word converted. Okay, and that doesn't really matter. Just make it intuitive for yourself and other coders who might read your code. It's going to take in each element of the array, so it's going to have that input. And now we're going to modify the elements of the array. Before we get into that, I just want to clean this up here and make sure that I can remain on track. I'm going to put converted. All right, so the very first question is, the very first condition we should test for is ask ourselves, is element an alphabetical letter, or is it a number or a symbol? Because if it's a letter, we're going to keep doing things. If it's not, we're just going to keep the element as it is. So I'm going to use some regex here. I'm going to say if var non-letter, and we're going to set that equal to, there's something called like a backward slash W, and that will target everything that's a non-alphabetical character. I think, I wonder if that takes in numbers as well. I'm going to do a quick Google search, everyone. Regex, let's see what comes up. Because I know it, here we go. Regex tutorial. I'm just going to go here. I don't like using W3 schools, but sometimes it helps me out. That's lowercase w. I want uppercase W. Dang it, W3 schools. Let's see. This one here. Here we go. Most engines word A through B. Okay, so here we go. Uppercase W. One character that is not a word character as defined by your engines. Okay, so this just targets symbols. So that being said, I want to go ahead and account for numbers as well. Var numbers. And we're going to say it's going to be 0 through 9. And I'm going to check that. Regex is something I often have to just make sure I'm writing correctly. Regex 101. Cool, so I'm just going to put various numbers and hopefully it gets counted. Okay, and nothing's highlighted because I did this wrong. Okay, I meant to not write our testing string here. I meant to write the actual regex, 0 through 9. Good, so it targets all the numbers. There we go. So now we have two variables that represent symbols that are non-alphabetical as well as numbers. Now, we're going to ask the question, does the element that's being put into converted, does that match with either of these? Does it match with non-letter? Or does it match with numbers, perhaps? And if so, what are we going to do? We are simply going to return a lem. And the reason being, because we don't want to modify it anyhow. We want to maintain its pristine, non-alphabetical character like nature. Okay, cool. So that's the first thing. Let's write an else statement. You don't technically have to, but for readability purposes, I'm going to put that there. Yeah, because anything outside an if is already going to be considered an else, just FYI. Cool. So now that we've taken into account that, let's take into account letters now. So what do we want to do with a letter? Once we already know that whatever is going to be in this else statement is going to be a letter, whether it's uppercase or lowercase, but it's going to be a character. The goal of this challenge is to change it so that it could become the very next letter, so that A could become B, and then B could become C, C becomes D, etc. Okay? And your immediate thought should be the ASCII code. because every character on your keyboard has an equivalent numerical value in ASCII. And I'll show you what I mean by that really quick. Let's just look down here. Okay, so for example, uppercase A has the ASCII value of 65. If the goal is to turn A to uppercase B, we want 65 to turn into 66. So there's a conversion here. It's the conversion from knowing what the element letter is, converting it to its ASCII numerical value, adding 1 to the ASCII, and then converting it back to a character. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on here. Now, first step, identifying what the element's ASCII is. So in order to do that, there is something called .char at. I believe it's .char at. We'll check that right now. But let's just return. I'm going to do some testing as we go along. So you don't necessarily want to return right here, but I just want to see what is going to be returned from this. Return lm.char at 0. I think that should work. I'll just console.log converted with the value of A, and what should be returned is 65. All right, let's see what happens. A lm.char, is that char at char lm.char at? Oh, this is char at, sorry. I think it's .char code at. There we go. Okay. Jar code at converts the letter into a numerical ASCII value. So it's lm.charcode at. Great. So let's assign that to a variable. Var converted, that is our function name. Var ASCII val equals this. Now that we know our ASCII val is 65, what do we want to do so that we get the very next letter? We simply add 1 to it. Now, let's see what ASCII val is now. It should be 66. Very good. Okay, so there we are. We are with our new ASCII value. Last step, let's go ahead and convert it back into a letter. And that was, let's see, what would that be? Oh yeah, it would be return string dot from char at ASCII val. Let's see what that is. Okay, that's wrong. From char code. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it'd be nice to just have these things, these syntactical things very much memorized. But essentially, the proper way to write that is string, uppercase S, dot from char code, and then you put in the numerical ASCII value, and you will get returned to you the letter equivalent. Okay? So we're almost golden, but the issue remains. What if we get a lowercase vowel in return? So I'll just pick one out of the hat, A, B, C, D. So after lowercase d, we should get lowercase e, right? Good. The thing is with this problem is that they wanted us to capitalize every single lowercase value from this brand new string. So we have to work on that. Now, I'm just gonna take this away. So we are at this point. We're at this point where we've converted the ASCII val to, or the character to an ASCII value and added 1. And the question remains, is it uppercase though? So now how do we go about that? We could just paste in what we just wrote. Let's see. If the conversion to a letter again is equivalent to if it matches with a lowercase vowels, then we're going to do something to it. So we got to call regex again, var lowercase let's vowels equals, let's see about this. I'm just going to simply do A-E-I-O-U. A-E-I-O-U. Now, these are all the vowels. The G represents a global, a way to globally scan through and match throughout the string instead of just capturing the very first, matching with the very first lowercase value that comes our way, which is important. So we're asking here, if the conversion from the ASCII value to the letter matches a lowercase vowel, we want to turn it to uppercase. So we're going to get this here, and we're going to turn it to uppercase. And we're just going to return it because that's all we really need from it. Then otherwise, if it isn't a lowercase vowel, what are we going to do? Well, we're just simply going to return the conversion. And that will be the end of the day. That will be it at the end of the day. Cool. So let's just test this again. If we run lowercase d with converted, it should return not lowercase e, but uppercase e. And it does. So that's promising. Now, the real test, letter changes. So we have here this converted function that's being called into map. It should apply to every element of the split string. And after all is said and done, we're going to join it back together and return the string as a whole. So that seems like a lot, but it's logical and it should work. I'm just going to grab a test case from Coderbyte. So we're expecting this output here, uppercase I. Let's see, the asterisk and the 3 should remain. Now let's see if it works. Split. Oops, duh. str.split. You can't just do that. You can't just not include the str dot before the method. That's ludicrous. Cool, that works. Other test case fun times. We're expecting this fun thing here. I'm just going to copy that whole thing so that we could see it well. Now we're expecting that. Okay. Let's run it. And it looks like it matches. Cool. Okay. So I think that's it. Let's just make sure it runs in Coderbyte. I am sure. I'm so sure Coderbyte. This is super cute. Cool. Cool. So I'm really happy because all the test case outputs were correct. And please excuse the time period points. I think my talking got in the way of that. I don't know. I don't know if that's something I should care about. I'm gonna say no, I don't really care about that. If I were silently doing this in my head, I probably would have got the 5 points. But I'm happy with just this. All right, so hopefully that helped you out, and hopefully Coderbyte has proven to be an awesome resource for you like it has been for me. All right, thank you everyone. Bye.